All right, very good evening to you. Welcome. It's Late Night Talk. My name is Kofi Bartels. It's great to have you be our guest tonight on the program. Lots of celebration, jubilation in River State and around Nigeria, on the streets, online, and on media platforms, radio stations especially. Why? Why, you might ask? Well, the reason is simple. And the reason is already up on the post. Well, you remember the IKOKU 5, or as some call them, the IKOKU 4. Well, a chief magistrate's court sitting in Port Harcourt today has remanded 4 dismissed officers in custody of a Port Harcourt Correctional facility over the death of an auto mechanic, Chima Ikwunador, while in police custody. They became known as Chima and the IKOKU 4. And of course, the hashtag Justice for Chima trended on social media. People in Port Harcourt and all over Nigeria have been talking about this story. And everybody came together to say, no, this one there, as for this one, it will not go like that. Well, this is what we have today. I'd like to know your thoughts on that. Please drop a comment on this post and get ready to call if you'd like to call, because we'll be very, very glad to hear from you. My guest tonight is a human rights lawyer of no mean repute. He's been a guest on this program before. He has been one of those lawyers who've been, lending their support and their voice to, the fight against police brutality. And he's been doing that boldly, without fear, and he joins us live on the phone tonight. I'd like to say a very good evening to Mr. Courage Nsirimovu, a human rights lawyer and our guest for tonight. Courage, good evening to you.
Good evening, Kofi, and good evening, good people of River State and the globe.
Okay, Courage, please, if the phone is far from you because of the echo we're getting, maybe you can just drag it closer to you so we can hear you well. And we're very grateful that you can join us this night. For those who heard about this, development today, they kept asking what's happening to the Chima case, and it was on the air. It was in the newspapers and on social media when the civil society organizations and various interest groups and media organizations talked about the fact that the Commissioner of Police had promised when he met with the civil society organization and FR George Lions Group that he will make some movements and release, some details and, of course, move forward with the case. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But here we are today. What's your take on today's development?
The incident today, it's a good development, and it's also a good day for justice. It's also clear to us that justice is not just a mirage, and it also makes us, as a people, understand that justice is not freely given. You must demand for justice. One other thing that was very potent, in this fight was the social media to escalate the news, to escalate the advocacy, to escalate the demand. And, it was really participatory. The people were interested. It's clear to us that if will speak with one voice concerning an issue against the government or a government agency or an erring individual, some way we would get justice. So it's a welcome development, and we will also push through till the end.
Okay, thank you very much. What do you think, is responsible for how long it has taken for the officers involved to even be arraigned before a court? This this torture, I don't like to use the word alleged, but you lawyers said I should use alleged for now, took place in December 2019. And please, if you could draw your phone closer to your mouth so that we hear you a bit more clearly.
Okay.
It's taken so long. What would you say has accounted for this?
Basically, it is procedural. It is procedural for the police to do the initial internal administrative mechanism, which is the orderly room trial. So that is internal and that is administrative for them to also determine in their own way whether the police officers actually erred against their own code of conduct. So they usually do that as a pre-trial procedure. So that would have taken the time for them to decide, to actually go on the arraignment, because before they would carry out this sort of arraignment, the police officer must have been dismissed from the police force. So that would have amounted to the delay, and of course, the COVID-19 saga that
sorry, barrister.
Yes, sir.
You are saying that COVID-19 must have been a reason why it took this long, and also the orderly room trial. But people are being charged to court, have been taken to court, before coronavirus came on board, and this happened in December 2019. Okay, we're not even factoring in, the former CP, Mustafa Dandaura. I hope you've not forgotten about him. We're not even factoring that in because, of course, we know he blatantly refused to move forward with the case. But this CP, do you think he was pressured into making this happen? And maybe if he had his way, he probably would have also looked for a backdoor route out of this quagmire.
I wouldn't make very strong allegations against the commissioners of police presently, because I am in the system of justice administration. I'm a lawyer, and we are very much aware that before the police arraigns an individual, they carry out investigations. Yes, this may have taken quite some time, but even outside Nigeria, you find out that some criminals, known notorious criminals, may still be roaming around the street, and you see the police investigating to gather substantial evidence before you go to court. So it's part of procedure for the police and whoever is gathering the case file, and even the commissioner of police, it's a sensitive matter to ensure that the case file is accurate and the evidence is enough to ensure conviction or at least a reasonable course of action. So that may also be one of the reasons, and we can't throw that away. The public pressure was also there, because yours truly is that if the public had kept quiet, there wouldn't have been any investigation, there wouldn't have been any orderly room trial, and there wouldn't have also been any arraignment. Kofi, I must tell you for free that the Anti-Torture Act clearly states that even the commanding officer, whether or not he participated in the torture,
yes,
is complicit. It's called a strict liability provision of law. So the public must also begin to call for the commander to also be investigated and also arraigned, because it's a strict liability offense.
Okay, so now that you've said that, let's go to it, because we're going to come to that at some point. Talking about the individuals who have been arraigned. So it's great that you've touched on that. Fantastic. So if you're listening tonight, thank you for joining us. If you're watching on Facebook, please like this post, share the post. Very important, please share the post so that others can be a part of our conversation. I'll be very glad if you can do that. Also, please press the notification button or bell if you're on Facebook, so that each time I go live, you'll be notified. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the notification bell and subscribe to my channel as well. If you're watching on Twitter, please retweet this post or this live stream and also comment on the post so that others can see that we're live and they can also be a part of our conversation. My guest tonight is a human rights lawyer based in Port Harcourt. His name is Mr. Nsirimovu, and we're here to talk about, or he's here to, discuss, give his expert analysis and opinion on the recent raining today and subsequent remand of the police officers arrested in connection with the untimely death of Chima Ikwunador and the IKOKU for torture. That one has been out in the public domain for some time. Please feel free to call later, but for now we're taking your comments, and your comments are welcome on the post as you're watching right now. We're very glad to read from you. Okay, I'd like to say a very good evening to those who are watching right now, and I'm going to go straight to just say hi as I see you online and you comment. I'd like to say hi. Highness Inda Nadukoro. Sorry if I didn't get the name right. Highness Nadukuro says, let them face the consequences. Stella Amani, or Amani, is it Amani? Okay, I think it's Amani, says they need to pay for all the innocent people they've killed in the past. Temi Dayo, Emmanuel Olajide says, good evening, my brother Kofi. I thank God for winning at first over Chima and others. We will continue with the case now in court till we get the final judgment in our favor, God willing. I like the R there, because everybody's chipping in on this. Basio Tudor, JP, good evening to you, sir. It says, justice for all. Nengi Banigo, good evening to you. Says, great news, seeing those police officers behind the killing of the innocent Chima and 3 others behind bars is a good one. Hope for the innocent ones. Okay. Eugene Abels, Eugene, I'm going to call you tomorrow for another segment of this conversation. And great job. It says the commander and the IPO have to be arrested, or it will be considered as unfair to the other officers. I think I should call Eugene after we're done with our guest tonight. Maybe. Okay. So I'll give him an impromptu call. But he's on the same page with you, barrister. Emmanuel Ogudu says, fine, I like the judgment. There's been no judgment yet. What about the remaining IKOKU 4? We just leave them like that with Chima's wife, no compensation. We'll talk about that as we go on. Very good question there. I'll come back to that. The Icon Studio says, good evening, Kofi. This one matter too many. But I thank God. This is one matter too many, sorry. But I thank God justice has taken its course. I give kudos to the media, especially you. Oh, thank you. All right. And others, I'm sure, have been doing great as well. Thank you very much. You said I personally pushed it too far. My brother, if I tell you it and I don't see. But we thank God for everything and all things. Give thanks, God. Comrade Lake Bossy Sunday Yamabana, good evening to you. Philip William, good evening to you. Jimmy Jack says, till judgment is passed. Jimmy's like me. Says, wait, don't celebrate yet, till judgment is passed. Bright Nados here says, good evening. I think the commander should also be dismissed. So, Courage, let's get back to that issue that Bright Nadozie has raised and Eugene Abels has raised, and you also raised as well. What we saw today were some individuals, in particular, four of them, four dismissed officers, police officers. But you've said you want to see Benson Adetui. And I didn't see Nodim as well, who was the leader of the squad. Is one that I didn't see. So what is the basis for your statement saying you need to see the others?
Now, Nodim, my understanding is that that Nodim is not even the commander.
No, he
may just be a leader. He's the leader of that squad.
Yes. And he was
now
in the torture. He was there. You know, you might not have
good.
Yes,
good.
He was the one supervising what they were doing before Adetui.
Good. Which means he participated in the crime.
Yes.
So nobody is above the law. Even if it's an allegation, he's a suspect. He's a suspect and should be part of the criminal procedure. So the civil society, the people in whole, should not rest until we continue to call to ensure that these other persons are also arraigned before the court of law, because nobody is above the law. And I also added about the commanding officer in that IKOKU unit. They usually have an OC. And I simply stated, and I will reiterate, that the anti-torture law states clearly states that the commanding officer, whether or not he was part of that torture, should also be part of the criminal procedure. It's called strict liability because it happened in his unit. So he cannot feign ignorance of whatever happened.
When you say it happened in his unit, let's start with Nodim. Nodim was not, we don't have reliable information to indicate that he actively tortured those 5 men. But he was superintending over the squad, the team, and he was the head, and they reported to him. What is there in the law that makes him culpable in all of this? That means he ought to be also arraigned before the magistrate, or the chief magistrate.
Now, this is a case of torture. Yeah. And we specifically have an anti-torture act. So that act ropes everyone that is part of the scene into the offense committed by one person. So in the eye of the law, the least they would get may be second degree conspiracy, of sort or conduct.
That is the officers in charge.
Yes.
Okay, second degree. Okay.
That is how the law puts it. And we're in a society of rule of law. So we must also call that those persons should also be investigated by the police force, of course, and they should also be prosecuted.
Okay. And what about Adetui, who he said that he wasn't around at the time? He went around and he goes around the compound to see what's going on, and he didn't see anything like that. He traveled actually, and when he came back, but he told he didn't order their torture, was not even aware of what was going on, etc., etc.
Now, that is his own case. That is why we have trial. The Constitution allows everyone a right to fair hearing. Okay. So it is now the duty of the magistrate or the justice that will handle the matter to listen, see the demeanor, and the IKOKU 4 are also living witnesses of what occurred, and the laws are also there. So it's going to be a matter of evidence before a court of law, and the prosecutor coming up with his own case, the IKOKU for standing in as witnesses to say who tortured them, who ordered the torture. Maybe when the case goes on, those facts will be revealed because they were the affected persons, and their evidence is very direct evidence, not hearsay. So at that point in time, that decision will be made.
Okay, so I want to get you right. Now that the case is in court, and these two individuals, Nodim and Adetui, are not in the dock, were not arraigned, how can they be gotten onto the into the case file? How can the names gotten onto the case? How does it work?
Pardon, come again.
Okay, now that Adetui and Nodim were not in court, what is the procedure to ensure that they are part of those defendants arraigned?
I have not seen the charge sheet. If in the charge sheet there were persons who were mentioned as one of the defendants in the case, then it is the responsibility of the court to issue a bench warrant for them to be produced.
Okay.
If they were not mentioned in the charge sheet, then it is for us to also continue to listen to the evidence of the IKOKU form and also determine whether they were an effective part of the torture one way or another. Because if any person as much as says torture them, that person must be roped in.
Okay.
So it is left for the prosecutor to get all of this evidence, and the public should also, watch and ensure that whoever has his hand stained in this act of torture that led to death, and again, it's beyond torture; it's also a murder trial.
Yes.
So that we must also put in perspective. It's a murder trial. So we must put that in perspective and ensure that there is actually justice for Chima and the IKOKU form.
Let's say hypothetically that Simon Odem and Benson Adetui were not in the case file or the charge sheet rather. Their names are not there. What's the procedure to get them on that charge sheet? Will it come from an appeal? What do you call it? A petition or what?
The way to go, if it is established that these persons were part of the torture that led to death, or in one way or another tortured the affected persons, then we must continue in our advocacy either by way of petition or even through that Twitter channel, and continue to call for them to also be investigated and prosecuted. We can't do beyond that.
So you're saying advocacy, petition writing, petition to who? Is it the Commissioner for Justice, Attorney General, or the police, or who, or the Magistrate?
There are various bodies. We can also send a petition to the Commissioner of Police, calling his attention, because this is basically his jurisdiction of operation in Rivers State, calling his attention. We can also copy the Inspector General of Police, who has that supervisory or directory power over the Commissioner here. So the Police Service Commission can also be copied. The attention of the National Human Rights Commission can also be called in for them to put an eagle eye on the case. Because, like I said initially, they have quasi-judicial powers. So that if, for instance, the police is refusing to prosecute persons who there is a reasonable cause of action against, then we can also use the court or the National Human Rights Commission to make an order of mandamus that mandating as a commissioner of police to prosecute them.
What about going to court or to seek?
I just said that. I said going to court to get an order of mandamus.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
Mandating the commissioner of police or the inspector general of police to ensure that these persons who have a case to answer should actually go to court and answer their case.
Which, in your opinion, is the easiest and most pragmatic step to take in this regard?
I think the best thing to do so that we can put the matter in the public glare is to first of all approach the National Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
Approaching the National Human Rights Commission, they could also be subpoenaed. They could be summoned. And when they are summoned at that level, the National Human Rights Commission can look into the matter, and if they are indicted, there will be calls for their dismissal, and if they are dismissed, then they can go ahead to arraign them.
Okay. Isn't that a longer route? I mean, with the whole National Human Rights Commission, they have to take maybe the
advocacy is strategic. Advocacy is strategic. You may just go to court. The police will not easily give you their file. You may just go to court and if you're not well prepared, your prayers will not be answered. But why I'm talking about the National Human Rights Commission is because they will act as a trial court because of their quasi-judicial powers and really look into the matter. They even have powers to even call for the file or so. So at that point in time, these persons may be really indicted, and then the public will be aware that they really have a case to answer.
Okay, all right. Interesting one, Courage Nsirimovu. Those of you who are joining us, of course, you can see from the pictures there, we are talking about justice for Chima and the IKOKU 5. I'm sorry if you're finding it a bit offensive, the images we're sharing with you, but that is the state of affairs, and we need to remind ourselves constantly of what these guys went through, of what these people went through. If you speak to those who were at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital mortuary, when on the day the body of Chima was being identified by the family, you'd realize that he was tortured and maimed and butchered beyond recognition. He was tortured, maimed, and butchered beyond recognition. We don't need to forget. Like they say, when it comes to American protests, they never forget. Well, in this case, we don't want you to forget. That's why we're putting it in front of you, so that you can see it. I'm sorry, but look at the wounds. Look at that. That's what these men went through. Okay, my name is Kofi Bartels. It's still Late Night Talk, and of course, we're looking at the Justice for Chima, latest developments to that story that held the nation spellbound from Port Harcourt. We thought that we were going to have a quiet, uneventful, or maybe enjoyable Christmas, but for 4 or 5 families, they were held in anguish as their sons were unjustly thrown into a cell. The IKRAC unit right there at the Mile 1 police station in Port Harcourt. A chief magistrate's court sitting in Port Harcourt has remanded 4 dismissed police officers in the custody of Port Harcourt Correctional Facility over the death of an auto mechanic, Chima Ikwunador. While in police custody, Ikwunador and 4 others who came to be known as the IKOKU 5 were arrested and detained by the police for allegedly being in possession of a stolen vehicle. And of course, for those who've been following the story, you're well aware that the owner of the vehicle, one of the vehicles, was the one who even, came and exposed the whole case and said, see, my mechanic has been arrested. They said he stole my vehicle, but he didn't steal any vehicle. All these evidence that I'm sure will be brought before the court as time goes on. And the auto mechanics maintained their innocence, insisting that they were only working on the vehicle with the consent of the owner, a position that was also validated by the owner. But despite this, they were allegedly tortured. Ikwunador died in custody. We have set the video of the the narration by one of the IKOKU 5 of how Chima died. It's really crazy. So on Monday night, the Rivers State Police Command announced the dismissal of the 4 police officers. This came after lots of noise and questioning and discussion in the media, on social media, and advocacy by civil society, based on the fact that what they said they were going to do, they were not going to do. They had not done. So in the night, they announced the dismissal of 4 police officers, including a female, for allegedly torturing the late Ikwunador to the death in December 2019. Now, these are the names of the 4 officers. Ayogu Fidelis, male, aged 42 years. AK Chibuzo, male, aged 36 years. Egbunefu Felix, male, Felix, aged 32 years. And Rose Giorgio, female, aged 30 years. And it's funny that she's actually called Giorgio. My brother. It's a joke I normally pull on in FR, Giorgio. But back to you, Mr. Nsirimovu. Can you please walk us through what happened, how this whole Audley Room trial goes? I've been part of it. I got tired and I decided that I wasn't going to go again. And you've accompanied me to the police headquarters before. What really is an Audley Room trial for those who do not know or understand?
Actually, I've not been part of Audley Room trial.
Okay. But you were not part of the process, but you just went and left. You had to go to court. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, as a lawyer, are you at liberty to just give a vague, for those who don't understand, and put it in layman's language what that means?
Initially, when I started, I talked a little about this. I said it's an internal administrative justice mechanism. It's that internal procedure that gives you fair hearing before dismissal. You know how in a company, before a person is dismissed, the person is allowed to be heard by an administrative panel to decide whether or not the person committed whatever offense.
Yeah.
And it's the same internal administrative mechanism in the police, and it's like a disciplinary, panel, hearing of the matter to know whether or not there is a reasonable cause of action against them, whether or not the suspect is culpable. So that's an internal administrative justice system. It is at the conclusion of that the police had to dismiss and then go about this arraignment. So it's an internal mechanism. If, for instance, they found out that maybe 1 or 2 persons are not part of the torture, they would have let those persons go. So it's just an internal investigation.
Okay. In times past, we've heard of police officers being dismissed without being, taken to justice, being brought to justice. I don't know if you agree with me, but I know I've heard of several cases of police officers being dismissed, but they've not been brought to justice. Why is that? Is anything different from this that has made it possible for these officers to face justice compared to other times when police officers have been dismissed after found guilty by, orderly room trial, or some people call it court martial. Is there anything different about this case that has made it possible compared to the other cases?
I think the difference is that the public eye is on this case, not just Rivers State. It's a national case, very sensitive case, and if you like, it's an international case. So the attention, the focus, the participation of the public, it's active in this particular case compared to other cases that can be swept under the carpet. Even the reputation of the police PRO Nnamdi Omoni was at stake because at some point in time we had conflicting statements from him. So, the police has to also sanitize its own name and do what is right. So this is a public case, and it's not the kind of case they can just sweep under the carpet.
Okay, so all eyes on me, all eyes on the case. The public has played a big role in ensuring that they don't just dismiss them and they go like that. We have some more questions, but let's just get back to the comment section, because I know the couple of people who are watching have had a question or two for you, which I'd like to bring up at this point. But if you're joining us, thank you very much for your time. It's still Late Night Talk. My name is Kofi Bartels, and of course, Justice for Chima IKOKU 5 saga in focus on Late Night Talk. I almost said the morning crossfire. Late Night Talk tonight. My name is Kofi Bartels. I'm not alone, as you just heard a voice. That's our guest for tonight. A lawyer, human rights lawyer with the Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law. I hope I got that right, sir. Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law. Perfect. Great. And you look at his name is Mr. Courage Nsirimovu. You're looking at pictures of the 4 dismissed police officers who were arraigned before the court's magistrate court in Port Harcourt today. Is it? Chief Magistrate's Court, rather, in Port Harcourt today. You can see Officer Rose Giorgio, age 30, who it is said is alleged to have inserted, pressed Chima's penis and abused him and tortured him with the penis. Egbunefu Felix, age 32, A.K. Chibuzo, age 36, and Yogu Fidelis, age 42, all male. I'll be interested in hearing from and talking to the IKOKU, surviving IKOKU 4, to find out if the Bam that they had talked about, who dealt with them, is part of these guys. But someone commented on Twitter earlier today when I put this up that they don't look like police officers, they look more like smugglers. Mr. Nsirimovu, what do you think accounts for the conduct of these police units? They do not act, behave, or dress like regular policemen. Why do you think that is so?
Kofi, this is obviously because there has not been punishment for this act of torture. You go to SARS, it's the same thing there. I mean, even as this matter is going on, there's been continuous torture, even in all the police units. So it's actually a culture. And, to break a culture, there must be punishment. Okay. There must be sanction. Yes, these police officers are being arraigned. And let's not preempt the judgment, but if judgment goes against them, if they are convicted, it will send a signal to other police officers that the justice system can actually penalize and send a police officer to prison who tortures a civilian. So that's my take.
Okay. All right. Are you saying, because I'm talking about their conduct and their dressing and the way they carry themselves about. I've seen SARS officials having dreadlocks. There's one I saw with dyed hair. You understand? I'm looking at these ones. They are keeping biabia. And it's not what we see the regular policemen do. Is it that they are given a special treatment because of the way they operate? Maybe they are a special assignment and they have to look rugged so they can get, past, break into criminal gangs and all those cultist groups and all that. Maybe that's why they get a pass to dress like this. I don't know.
I wouldn't speak for the commissioner of police or the police force, but I know that they have standard of decency, and what we see today, it's also against such standards. We see lots of policemen unidentified. We see most of them on mufti. We also see most of them participating in smoking Indian hemp. We see lots of recklessness from the Nigerian police officers. So it also questions the disciplinary committee. I mean, they have to be up and do it. It's still a question of sanction and management. So if the authorities in the police force do not manage them very well, then this kind of unprofessional attitudes will continue, and of course it will degenerate into what we saw in the Chima case.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to messages. I'd like to say good evening to all of you who are joining us on Late Night Talk tonight. My guest is a human rights lawyer. He's with the Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law. He is Mr. Courage Nsirimovu. Your thoughts are welcome in the comment section. Please feel free to type your comments, and along the line before we are done, you can call in and have your say. If you have not been told or you've not heard, the police officers suspected or alleged to be responsible for the death of Chima Ikwunador, mechanic based in Port Harcourt, and the 4 other of his colleagues, they probably called the IKOKU 5, or the survivors called the IKOKU 4. The police officers were arraigned before Chief Magistrate Court in Port Harcourt today, remanded at the Port Harcourt Correctional Center as this case unfolds. And they've already been dismissed by the police. They were dismissed last night, or their dismissal was announced last night. Okay, let's go straight to your comments. I have more comments coming through here. I think I've read Eugene Abel's comments. Is this the second one? Okay, Eugene Abel says the commander and the IPO have to be arrested, or it will be considered as unfair to the other officers arrested. Great comment there. Emmanuel Ogbudu says, fine, I like the judgment. What about the remaining IKOKU? 4. We just leave them like Chima's wife. No compassion. We'll talk about that. Emmanuel, great comment. Thank you. The Icon Studio, thank you very much for your nice words. Jimmy Jack, thank you very much. He says, till judgment is passed. Bright Nadoze says, I think the commander should also be dismissed. Chuki King says, what of SP Benson Adetui, the head of Eagle Crack? Good question. I have no answer. Juliet Ogechi says, greatest news ever. Finally, justice prevailed. Nwika Lo Benson says, we need a right judgment to be done. Frederick Pepple says, justice is served. I still believe that this country will be great again. Stanley Sofo, good evening to you. Collins Lebete Kenneth says, accountability for police brutality and criminal justice. Okay. Eddie Wanko, long time, says, justice to me will be adequate compensation for the living and relatives of the dead, sentencing of the perpetrators of this alleged crime, and finally putting measures in place to stop the torture, and illegal bail money at all our police stations. This is just the beginning, not justice yet, in my view. Ms. Nsirimovu, what do you say to this? A brilliant comment by Eddie Wanko. He says, justice to me, that's to him, will be adequate compensation for the living and relatives of the dead, sentencing of the perpetrators of this alleged crime, and finally putting measures in place to stop torture and illegal bail money at all our police stations. What's your response to that comment?
Okay, he talked about compensation for the family.
Yes, the compensation for the living and the families or relatives of the dead. That's when in his opinion justice will be seen to have been served.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with him. Justice will be served if the perpetrators of the um, offense are convicted. Justice will be served if the family of the affected Chima, because this issue came up recently on compensation of the affected persons. It's a given that if this incident did not occur, Chima would have been taking care of his wife and children. Um, his wife was pregnant as at the time this incident occurred, which simply means that he had responsibilities to take care of. It also means that his child or children to be would also not have that father care over them. So it's a great loss to them. There is a financial aspect of it, there is the emotional, there is the psychological loss also. So the family should be adequately compensated, especially the wife, and I don't know if she has put to bed presently.
Yes, she has. Yes.
Yes, you can imagine. So, justice will be served if the Nigerian police is made to ensure that all through the life of the baby, the judgment sum or whatever they get as compensation is adequate to cater for the livelihood and the education of that child and his wife. So I totally agree with that statement.
Okay, so the human rights, fundamental rights enforcement suit, I think that's what they call it, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, is in court. Was in court before the courts were suspended because of coronavirus. Will that run concurrently? Can it run concurrently with this criminal case?
Definitely, because in law we have civil procedure. Civil procedure, in its own nature, is to demand for a declaration of course. It's also to demand for a compensation. So it does not carry penalty. It's not a matter that leads anybody to prison. It's a matter that just determines right of one person against the other, and also determines compensation and all of that. So that is on the one side, and the criminal procedure is the aspect of justice that involves the police.
Okay.
The civil aspect does not necessarily involve, it's an issue of your right against another person's right. But the criminal, which is what we're talking about, is the one that involves police investigation into the matter to determine, and it either ends up in fine with a penalty or imprisonment, which is also a penalty. So it can run concurrently, Kofi.
Oh, fantastic. I want to thank those who are watching and joining us, myself and my guest, Mr. Courage Nsirimovu, human rights lawyer. Thank you very much for your time. If you're watching right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and interestingly Instagram, well, I'd like to say good evening to Mariano Konduke, who's said hi, and David Dokun. Thank you very much for your comments as well on Instagram, keeping it real over there. Okay, back to your comments now. Let's see if we have more on. Do we have Twitter comments? Okay, nothing yet on Twitter, but on Facebook, it's really raining over there. Ubok Achogo. Ubokowa Jimmy Achogo. I hope I got the name right. Says police is meant to protect. Okay. Let me just start from the top of this comment. Yes, here it is. It says police is meant to protect, not torture to death. Whoever is found guilty in the litigation process should face the music. Josephine says justice must prevail. And Mecca Joseph says this crime we've just seen about the ones. What about the ones we've not had? Okay, that is a very good question, my brother. What about the ones that we've not had? But I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I'm sure that these things, they have to start from somewhere. All right, let's get some more comments here. Thank you, my brother, for that one. A very interesting question you asked there. Emeka Joseph is back. He says, and those people they killed and they threw away or buried. All right. Mr. Nsirimovu, what do you say to that? Emeka is asking about those crimes, that those other torture, acts of torture, and even people who've died, maybe extrajudicial killings that are not part of this case. What happens to those? He's asking.
Come again, Kofi.
Okay, Mecca is worried and concerned about other extrajudicial killings and cases of torture that haven't come to light.
Okay, there has been a continuous call for people to speak out, because if a case is not known, there is nothing the human rights bodies, civil society can do about it. The case of Chima, it's like it's strong force because somebody wrote about the incident and people picked it up and ran with it. So you may think your case may not get justice, and if you keep quiet, surely it will not get justice. But people must begin to speak out. Sometimes people consider the fact that they may be indigent, and access to justice is quite expensive. Some persons, because of sheer fear, are also not willing to come forth, to run through the trial process. So there is the issue of fear, there is the issue of poverty, and there is the issue of ignorance. So most of these cases don't come to light. We talked about your own case when you were tortured by men of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, and that case is before the court because you are enlightened. So persons need to be also enlightened and understand that, for them to get justice, they may have to go through the trial process. They shouldn't be afraid. They should be able to speak out and also, speak to lawyers, civil society organizations, and sometimes their cases are taken up pro bono. So people should speak out. If not, there is this vigilante body. Is it OSPAC also? What's their name?
Okay.
Is that their name?
Yes, OSPAC. Okay, I guess yeah. I think.
Yeah. Recently, I heard that in the Igbo community, they went into the house of a particular family I know, and brought out one of the sons at the early hours of the morning and shot him in front of the father. This young man was not armed.
My God.
This young man was not armed, and that's another case. And the father is like, he can't go through the justice system.
You see?
And for crying out loud, if that's a vigilante organization and not a police unit, they don't have the right to kill. At most, they can take up a suspect to the police station and report the case. It was not an issue of self-defense where they were in a shootout with a criminal gang. The young man was sleeping in his house. He went to his house. if you've picked him up, you should take him to a police station. If you think
that's murder, isn't it?
That's murder. So that's one of the cases of extrajudicial killing that has not also come to limelight because the family is also afraid to take up the matter.
Okay. So people need to...
So they just steal lives anyhow.
Interesting. Let's... we have to round up and also allow you get back to your other activities. But I'll just read a few more comments here before we're done. Let's see. Good evening to all of you joining us. Thanks for being a part of our live stream if you're watching. And please do well to like our post. Like this post. Share the post, but most importantly, please share it so that others who are on your timeline can be a part of what we're doing here. Also, whilst you're sharing the post, you can also click the notification bell or button somewhere on this live stream. If you're watching on your phone, you see it at the bottom, or if you go to my page, you see after you like my page, you see a notification button that you can click. But please like my page, follow me, number one, like me, number two, on Facebook, and then click the notification button, number three, and then share this post, number four, and then comment, number five, on Facebook. On YouTube, please drop a comment, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and then share the video. On Twitter, please retweet, like the video, comment on it, and also follow me. On Instagram, you can just write a comment and even possibly share it on to your own story and to your friends as well. So to watch. Thank you very much. Let's go straight to some comments here. Let's see. If you just joining us, narration is up on the post, so you probably know what we're talking about. I'd like to say very good evening to Mecca Joseph. Thank you. Imahari says, for me, all the police officers that were involved in this scandal, including the police spokesperson who initially told the Nigerian police, or Nigerians rather, that Chima Ikwunador had died of high blood sugar, should be tried. A good police PRO should have known the authenticity of the information he's being given out, or he's given out to the public. May God bless everyone who made this possible today. Courage, do you think that what the police public relations officer said is grounds to arraign him in court in this case? I mean, he got the information from the IKRA commander, and he just transmitted what he got. That's all he did. So is that grounds or reason enough to take him to court?
First of all, it's an issue of unprofessionalism in the work that he's doing, because he's the police PRO, public relative officer. That's the communication, the spokesperson of the police, which means that before he comes on air to inform the public, he must have done his background investigation, because this matter we're talking about is a very sensitive matter. So it looks like he was trying to cover up or he was trying to, save the image of the police when he raised the issue of another possible cause of death than torture. He was trying to make a case for the police, which, if you look deeply into it, may amount to obstruction, of justice. Because
oh, really? But he said he was given the alibi or the information by the head of IKRAC that autopsy had been conducted and he died of high blood sugar and all that. And
again, like I said, it's suspicious, it's unprofessional, because if anybody would make a statement about the death, the cause of death, I mean, they should know that first of all there must have been an autopsy, and you are not a doctor, you're not peritus, you're not qualified to make such a statement, except you're reading from a doctor's report. So was there any medical reports? So like I said initially, he was trying to protect the image of the Nigerian police. So that was just a desperate effort to protect the image of the Nigerian police against the interest of the people, against the loss of life, which means that they don't even value the lives of the citizens they are supposed to protect. Imagine that the public works with that information, which means justice would just have been, hidden under the carpet or somewhere.
Hello?
So it's a misleading information to the public, and it's something that I initially called for from the Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law, called for his resignation. He has no business being there anymore because he knows the procedure. The procedure is simple. After an autopsy, then you can speak based on the report available to you.
No, but he said that an autopsy had been conducted, and that
that was why I said there were contradicting statements from the police PRO, which means he lied to the public, and that shows that there was an attempt to obstruct justice.
Okay. So he could. So you're saying he could be tried for obstruction of justice?
Of course.
I see.
Of course. If we push it, and if they are ready to do the right thing, he shouldn't even be in that office. If we petition him based on his utterances to Police Service Commission, he won't sit there for another day. He won't sit there for another day. He won't sit there.
Okay. Correct. Thanks. Let's just quickly round up with these messages. Ruti Liko is watching us on Instagram Live. I want to thank you, Ruti, for being a part of this program. Thank you, Ruti. I appreciate your time and your comments there, even though it's just smileys, but I appreciate it all the same. Emeka Joseph says they're supposed to capture Adetui in the charge sheet. We talked about that. Jack Brasba says long overdue, but will the torture and intimidation stop? Even today along Choba Road Police PH, before the rains, they were seen collecting money from motorists and giving change. Too bad. Emeka Joseph says, remember one of the owners of the car said he overheard the commander say, my boss don't overwork, which means the commander knew about it. Interesting. That's a very very smart observation. Yeah, Corey, you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Those are the evidence. I say, if we're able to gather such, materials, exhibits, evidence, then those officers at the top, there should be a call for them to also be prosecuted.
Okay. Fantastic. Let's go on. Let me see. Okay. Emeka Joseph, I think we read a message already. He says, I think Engineer Chijoke says, keep it up. Nice job. Thank you very much, my brother, for your kind words. I appreciate it. Okay. Ama Edu says, I like how Kofi follows Balabon. If you follow headsmen killing this way, then for Ron come out for Benue State. Okay. Thank you, my brother. You have a point. The only thing we say, I know they Benue State, so the one way near me, now it's easy pass. This is just being in my backyard here. I'm sure there are people who are doing the same job I'm doing here in Benue State, and they're not talking about what's happening in River State. So I hope you understand the logic now. I'm in Port Harcourt. And Bright Unique says they should all be made to face the full justice of the law, the full wrath of law. I think we'd say useless officers in uniform. Well, there are no more officers. And Mecca Joseph says, Kofi, I was at the SARS base the day your incident happened. They were bragging about how they battered you. Okay. Interesting. So you hear them now. They dealt with me. They did. And they'll pay. They'll pay for it. Trust me. And by the time they are done, we're done with them. I'm sure they will know that that should not be done again. And nobody will tell them. Nobody will tell them to handle their officers. In fact, this Chima own too. By the time we are all done with them, nobody will tell them to rein in their police officers. Emeka Joseph says, we need to fight tooth and nail to sanitize this mess. Yes, if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. The politicians won't do it. The government won't do it. You and I have to do it. Emeka says the Eagle Crack commander was busy making money from his men and recklessly killing people's loved ones. He says he should come out and defend himself. The commander says he's not afraid of petitions. Okay. All right. The man is shit scared. Trust me. He is. My brother, before you go, Barrister Courage Nsirimovu, what is the what is the maximum and minimum outcome in terms of penalty for the 4 officers and any others arraigned, before the Chief Magistrate's Court? And how far can this case go?
The matter looks like, from the aspect of the public, we may be calling for a first-degree murder. I have not seen the charge sheet. If it is manslaughter on the charge sheet, if it is manslaughter, they may be looking at maybe another degree of murder.
Okay.
If it is a case of murder and it is established, then the death sentence will be pronounced. That they be hung until they be dead. If it is a case of manslaughter, it may be life imprisonment. If it's a case of conspiracy, it may be lesser number of years. So the charge sheet and the trial, the evidence put before the court will determine. My prayer is that the IKOKU 4, outside Nigeria, those young men should be protected. In Nigeria here, who would protect them? Nobody knows if they may be threatened to come and witness. Even the civil society may not even have the resources to keep them. So those are the type of things we should also put in consideration. Are they safe to come and testify? So those issues are there, because if those young men don't come out and testify, it may be funny.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting and important point that you've raised, which we have to look at and discuss, in-house as well, to escalate this to the highest level of resources that can be garnered, to make sure these guys are kept.
They shouldn't even be in Rivers State until when they are called to testify, they testify,
yes,
and they move out of the state until this whole thing clears up.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and I also to add that I think this is also a test case for the entire justice system in Nigeria, and everyone needs to pull the resources together. And very important point you've made. Before you go, Mr. Nsirimovu, what do you make of how the police are going about this case? Who is prosecuting? Is it the police themselves at this chief magistrate level? Is it the attorney general? Is it the DPP? That's number one. Number two, because I'm thinking that we might see 1 or 2 delay tactics if care is not taken, and it's not Uhuru yet. It's not yet over until the referee blows the final whistle. But the presiding chief magistrate, Promise Irwanya, said the court lacked jurisdiction to try such a matter, and stated the case file will be returned to the Director of Public Prosecution, and went on to adjourn the matter to September 18, 2020. What do you make of this?
Okay, it's normal criminal procedure, which we've been advocating against, that if a person is charged beyond the jurisdiction, because when you talk about jurisdiction, some magistrates may not be able to hear a case that the sentence is beyond 7 years or 14 years. You understand? And these are capital offense cases of life imprisonment, death sentence, which means that the magistrate does not have the jurisdiction. So it's like a holding charge.
Okay.
So it goes to the magistrate, and the magistrate declines jurisdiction, reprimands them in prison or police cell, as the case may be, given the special circumstance we have now, the COVID-19. Prison may not be taking so many people in. Now, the DPP, the matter goes back to the DPP. While the matter goes back to the DPP, it's for the DPP to look at the case file and see if there is a reasonable cause of action for these people to be tried. And at that level, the DPP will now advise the magistrate whether or not there is a case against these people and where they should be tried. So in that DPP report, it will stipulate whether there is a case against them or not. You know how in the case of the IKOKU 4, we were calling for DPP to give its advice quickly so that those young men will be released. And when they gave their advice, they were released. So that is a part of the DPP advice. And the administration of criminal justice law gives them a period of time to ensure that the advice is released. So let's look forward to that and what they will come up with before the major trial will come up at the High Court. The matter that cannot be tried at the Magistrate Court.
Okay, all right. Okay, do you suspect that this is all part of delay tactics? I mean, because they must be aware, of course, that the magistrate lacks jurisdiction to try magistrate court.
No, it's just a faulty procedure. That they first of all take a case to the magistrate court. Matters like this should immediately go to the High Court.
Okay. I understand you. We have to go. I want to thank you very much for your time, Courage Nsirimovu, who is of the Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law, and of course a human rights lawyer as well. I've thoroughly enjoyed, talking to you. And there's so much to talk about as regards this case, but I'm sure in due course we would have more time to talk about what's happening. So thank you very much, Courage, and well done with the great work you and others have put in to ensure that we keep this on the front burner, at least even if it's just at the initial stages of this prosecution. But we can all say so far so good. Thank you very much for your time, Courage.
Thank you, Kofi.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Have a nice night. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost done, but I want to thank all of you who are watching right now. On Instagram, it's all action there. I'd like to say a very good evening to, Ruti Leko, I've said good evening to you. Rev Ken, also on Instagram, thank you very much. David Dokun, thank you for watching. Marianne Duke Okon rather, Mimi Ayo, thank you very much for watching as well. For all of you watching on Facebook, thanks as well for your time. Please do me well to share this post. If you're watching, share this post so that others can be a part of it. It's not yet over until it's over, like some people would say, and I certainly am saying it's not yet over until the referee blows the final whistle. Okay, we have to see that this case is going to run its course, that they're going to have the maximum sentence allowed in such a case, and that those who are not on the charge sheet will be brought onto that charge sheet. We have to make it happen. Without fear, without favor, it has to be done. And that is what I'm sure all of you, people of good conscience, who are seeking for a change in this nation, would have to make sure it happens. And we will have to force this country to change, whether it likes it or not. We will do a little bit in our corner. Like the police say, change begins with you or with me. Now them they talk. So based on what they always say, we will also do a little best without fear, because the Bible says that he that values his life so much is afraid will lose it, but he that puts his life out there will gain it. So you guys shouldn't be afraid. The country has refused to change, and we will force this country to change. Yes, yes. And the young people, I want to challenge you. Your mates in America have come out, young kids, really. So you can do it. You can change this country. All right? People who have guns feel that the gun gives them power. They have uniforms, they feel the uniform gives them power. But the power truly resides in the people. The people. All right? The people, which is you. So whether it's on your phone, whether it's in your little corner in your community, when they say lend a voice, please lend a voice. Lend a voice, okay? Lend a voice. Lend a voice. Because we don't know who this will affect the next time. All right? We don't know who this will affect the next time. Don't be afraid to die. Fela said we are even afraid of the air. All right? It's better for you to die knowing that you died for a good cause than for you to live for nothing in life. Last, everybody will die. And when we die, we're going to meet our maker. All right? What country are we bequeathing for our children, our children's children? What Nigeria? You got to think about it. So if the country does not want to change, force the country to change. All right? Force the country to change. And it starts from somewhere. It starts from something like this. Look at how one case, Floyd, sparked massive change in America. Have there been others before Floyd? Of course. Even worse. Will there be others after Floyd? Most likely. But one little case, one incident can, it's not little, but can be the springboard for change. Politicians won't give you change. They won't give you change. You, the people, are the ones who bring about change in this country. Okay. I have to leave it at that. Could go on and on and on and on, but time is fast spent. All right? If we keep silent, this country will not get better. If we keep quiet, it won't get better. It won't. All right? Thank you very much for your time. My name is Kofi Bartels. That's been Late Night Talk. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. Yesterday we had a bit of an issue with the network, but thankfully it's been sorted out and we are back. If you want to sponsor, you want to buy data for us or, advertise your program on this platform, please feel free to do that. I'll be very glad to have you do that. Just drop me a message online, inbox, or call the number on this post. Till we meet next time, being tomorrow, God willing. Have yourself a fantastic night. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. Good night.